Sanibonani nonke babukeli. Welcome back to Chibang Empire. Namhlanje we have a very, very good topic, and I'm sure that nonke emakhaya you can relate to this topic. And today's topic is family boundaries when you're in a relationship. Asikhulumi nje abantu abajolayo nje kuphela. Sikhuluma nalabo abantu abashadile. Go ahead.
Like she said, welcome back to the Empire. Today we have some very special guests. We got Mel all the way from Canada, baby. We are
Hey.
My parents, and then we got the co-host and the host himself. So before we waste too much time, we might as well just jump right at it and chit chat and choke it out, right? So like I said, we talk about family boundaries. So when somebody says family boundaries, what comes into mind? When we're talking about those type of boundaries when you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage, what kind of boundaries can you guys think of?
I'll take it first. All right. So family boundaries is like, when someone is married or in a relationship, serious or not, so your family has to be involved, but only to a certain extent, right? So for example, your family should not and should never choose a partner for you. That's your own choice, okay? Number one. But two, once you choose that partner, your family can run the day-to-day businesses, like like your mom or your brother, whoever, your uncle cannot be running your day-to-day affair. They can advise, but ultimately the choice should be yours, though.
Right.
So unfortunately, most people cross those boundaries by choosing for you, deciding for you. Telling you do this, do that, which is good when it's in the form of advice. It's great. But when it's now like in the form of decisive measures, then that's no longer acceptable.
Yeah. What do you think, Mel?
I think it's trying to find the balance between taking counsel and receiving instruction, but also your people understanding that they've trained you enough to now be given that trust and that responsibility to make your own decisions. Finding the balance between taking principle rather than opinions, because everybody has, or has an idea of what they want for your life or what they want in their lives that they weren't able to attain, and they're trying to live it through you rather than, what you want for yourself. So when it comes to opinions, we can have a difference of opinions, but if it comes to principle, then I can take what you're saying. So yeah, just striking that balance in life is what's needed.
That's some strong stuff right there. What do you think? Yeah?
So yeah, when I think about family boundaries, I definitely think about them knowing where they're overstepping, doing too much. So like you said, sometimes they think they're giving you advice, but as an adult, when you're dating and you're married, you can definitely make your own decisions, right? It's an advice. Okay, I think if I were you, I would do this. But when they just start giving unsolicited advice or opinions, when it's just like, okay, you're overstepping those boundaries that should go without saying.
Yeah.
I think we opened it up really okay. I think all these are really some good stuff, man, and I like it. But I think, in my opinion, it starts with you and your partner or your spouse, right? You have to come across and communicate with your partner what kind of boundaries you like to be in place, right? That way, because I can't go to your family and tell them the boundaries that I want, but you can go to your family and tell them that, hey, me and my partner would like to do things this way. So preferably, I'd rather have you guys not do this and this and this, right? So that's with you too. And then you have to take the message out there to your own family, right? Once the message is out there, the second part is you have to know what to share and what not to share with family. That's a big boundary right there too. Because let's say, for example, let's say my sister comes and talks to me like, hey man, this guy has been beating me up at home or something. My sister might go back to that guy and make up. But me, I won't forget.
Yeah.
Sometimes then they not even forgive. This guy's been beating up on my sister. Maybe they're now squashed whatever beef they had. But me as a family member, I'm still holding on to that, man, this nigga is treating my lady, my sister good. So just know what to share and what not to share. I'm not saying don't share stuff with your family, but know what to share and what not to share, because with family we end up also like overstepping the boundaries what protect one of us. So just know what to share and what not to share. That's like the first bullet that I can throw out there.
I think also like when you're speaking on what to share and what not to share, sometimes in relationships, right, we encounter conflict, and that's very common in any relationship because you're two different people raised in two different households. Probably have two different walks in life as well. So when you're having that conflict, and like you said, and you share that information with family members, they don't forgive and they leave you out here telling you better leave him. That's not all the wrong information. They also find the right person to share that information with. I think you're better off sharing with friends or your church, someone that you work with that you trust over your family, because absolutely family will not forget or forgive. Do you guys agree? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I think the bigger issue isn't necessarily what you share with your family, but rather what your family decides to, or the boundary that you set with your family to your spouse. So how much you tell your spouse about your family. I guess that's what I would ask. How far? How much do you tell them? Because sometimes like family have a way to expose themselves, and you might have not given your spouse like the heads up ahead of time, but now they're asking questions. So how do you deal with that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's usually the issue now.
Yeah, that's a good question. What do you think, Musa?
So I think I'm gonna just piggyback off of Laura's and Hugh's point from the previous point before we jump on this one. That boundaries are two ways as well. You know, it's not just people coming; it's also you going to them. You know, like you say, like knowing what and how much to share with other people. I mean, generally speaking, I don't think I just think that minimize you know, I mean, people's involvement as much as you can. You know, if possible. That's my advice, because really 95% of the time, if you tell someone else your problems, they don't even care anyway. You know, they just got some ingredients for gossip. So really, you need to tell the creator your problems, you know, because the human beings really were not that great in solving other people's problems, let alone ours, you know. You know, so that's one thing I'll say for now, you know.
Preach.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely brought a good point right there, man. You know, don't invite others into your relationship or into your marriage, because most of the time, especially with family, you might end up messing around, maybe getting some bad advice, and then you run with it, and then end up messing up the good relationship that you had just because somebody told you stuff they probably don't even know about, you know. Because not everybody has best interest at heart for you. You know, you have some of those family members that just, man, they're just like a piece of work. You know, we all know every family has that one person that, you know, it doesn't even matter how good the thing is, they just gonna find something somewhere that's wrong with it, you know. But those type of people, when they come trying to get into your relationship too much, you have to know where to put the brakes. You have to know where to draw the line. Right? And it's important to know your people so that when your lady or your man comes around them, that's when you give them a heads up, like what Melmo said, right? Like, hey, don't even worry about what this person gonna say, because most of the time, man, they just a hater, you know, or whatever the case may be. Because you already know you know who to bring where. Everybody has their own time and place. I know who to talk to about what. Because you know those people, right? So it's important to know your people, but also don't invite a lot of people into your relationship. Because now everybody becomes a coach. Everybody got their little 2 cents that they want their 2 cents to be the one that's overheard by everybody else.
Yeah, I actually don't think it's necessary to give anybody a heads up. The only reason why I say that is because people's characters are different. You know, you can have a spouse who, if they see people if they see your family through the lens at which you see your family through. So if you have a sister or a brother who's a hater or whatever it is, or an auntie or an uncle, when you tell them that information, they go into the meeting, for their first interaction with those people, already having a preconceived notion. So there's no need to, tell somebody ahead of time that you're going to experience this and this. Let them get to know people for who they are, given whatever they give them. Somebody could be a hater, but what if they choose not to be a hater that day? But I'm already coming at them like in defense mode. You know what I'm saying? So I think there are elements to a family dynamics that you don't need to mention until the person faces it. And then you got to clear it up before they start, karate chopping your family members. You know what I mean?
The thing about it though is like, if I don't give you a heads up, now you get hit by the element of surprise. And maybe you're even caught off guard about things that you were not prepared to talk about at the moment, So that's why I gotta give you that heads up. So
I mean, the heads up could be like in the case maybe your brother says, this girl is, I don't know, maybe a prostitute or whatever. She's not. And that he's always giving bad energy when it comes to your name being brought up, then I expect my spouse to give me the heads up. But if it's just like maybe a character thing, you've known in the past that your brother makes statements, there's no need to do that, because now it's just an assassination of character. You're still getting to know me. You don't know if I take things at heart, and I'm not a forgiving person. Maybe I might just take that and not see that. All I'm saying is allow the space for these people to get to know each other on a neutral ground, then already stepping into it, already on defense mode, already hating the other person. So you have to be careful. You know your person though, but you really have to be careful because things can go really bad quickly.
All right. So,
I teach to say something, but let you say something.
I am itching to say something, and like, unfortunately, on this one, I have to put like a little bit of there, right? So, like you said, you have to know your partner, right? And I know for me, my partner is a person who's not judgmental, right? I can tell him that this particular person in our family, that's this way, that way, and that way. You know what I mean? And they just go, I'll keep in mind what you said, but that's not how I'm going to look at them. That's my experience with that person in my family.
Right.
But when he goes there, he's not going to go in there like, oh, so this person is a person who's a loudmouth and always has negative things to say. But that's according to Laura's experience with that particular individual. Now he's going to go in there and, build his own experiences after meeting the person. But I guess it's also, like you said, you need to know your person, and that person has to be mature enough to not always take what you're saying, take it with a grain of salt, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just depends on the type of person that you have. So you're still getting to I understand why you couldn't say it right away, but once you're at a certain stage in the relationship and you know the kind of person, that person's not judgmental, my partner is not judgmental, my partner is not a person who takes everything I say about this particular person and goes with it, then, well, have at it, because there'll be some things that he knows that they don't know that I done told him. And he does not act according whatsoever, which is pretty impressive because not a lot of people can do that.
Right. So for me, I think I'm one of the people who would appreciate it. Heads up.
Wait, I gotta know.
Okay.
Yeah, me and my brothers would appreciate it. Heads up, because number one, like Laura said, I don't go in like biased already with a preconceived notion like, oh, this guy, but I go in informed at least, of my surroundings. So just in case that pops up, I'm not like shocked, like or upset or outraged. Okay, cool, no big deal. Let's keep pushing, So sometimes, depending on whether or not it's indicated or not, sometimes a heads up is good. It's appropriate sometimes. Sometimes, sometimes it defeats the purpose of you meeting the people and knowing them for who they are. Because if I tell you everything that doesn't the test, then you taking that test is pointless at that point because you already know what's in there. So your ability to know or not know is not tested anymore. So you have to use a professional judgment to know when to give a heads up or to receive it. But like Clara said, I'm for one, I don't judge people off of my partner telling me, oh, my brother, my sister, my uncle is like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to see it for myself. But I'll keep that in mind though.
Yeah, that's
so like, but what is like the core? What is like the foundational issues of why like your family would want to overstep boundaries? What's the issue? Like, I think
why would they want to overstep boundaries?
Yeah, why do people do that?
Go ahead, take a stab at it.
Okay, so I think, like Kay said earlier, first of all, you have to make sure that you fix that, right? And the reason why they sometimes overstep boundaries, you go from being, let's just use parents. You go from being your parents' little girl, little Laura, this is my daughter, and then now all of a sudden you're married, right? So they're a little anxious, a little nervous, and so they want to guide you. And I think most of the time people who overstep boundaries, like for example, parents, I think they don't mean any harm. They're just trying to guide you. This is new for you. You've never been married. I've been married, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. And I just want to make sure that you do it right. And so them thinking they want to help you do it right, they overstep boundaries. Now they're calling. They want to know how's it going in the marriage. You guys having any issues? Talk to me. They want to have conversations, sexual conversations. Oh, how's it going with this? You guys are okay? Like some certain parents will do that, thinking that they're helping, but sometimes it's just like, okay, like, let me come to you if I feel that it's appropriate. You don't have to be calling me 50 times a day. If you have a relationship where you speak to your parents 50 times a day, and now you're in a serious relationship and you're married or just in a really, serious relationship, you have to, okay, look, you can't be calling me 50 times a day. I'm busy. I'm having quality time with my significant other and stuff. So the person that's in the relationship is the one that has to lead the whole the unmarked line. Like, you can't cross that line, So parents normally, I think they're helping. And in the long run, sometimes like, okay, right there, that's enough. So I think the same for like aunties, uncles, sisters, brothers. Sometimes they think that they're helping and they just want to mediate, but no, not when it's not asked for. Let me come to you.
So you don't think that there are cases of those who have like ill intentions? You think most people who break those boundaries have good intentions? They're just trying to guide.
For me personally, and you guys will have a different, because you're shaking your head. No, for me, from what I've experienced, most of the time it's because they have good intentions. Now, there is a small percentage for me that has ill intentions, like, oh, no, you too happy. What's going on in that relationship? I want to know why, what y'all got going on. You know what I mean? And sometimes it could be an auntie who has daughters and sons who are not married. Life's not going the way that she would want, but yours is going well. Like, what's going on? Like, acting like they really care, but they're really trying to figure out what's going on and what they can do to, I guess, separate and, remove your children.
So then you would say it's fair then to not take counsel from those that you suspect have ill intentions. So a mother, forget aunties, so a mother and father, more immediate. Mm-hmm. You are fine with not taking counsel or listening to a parent who you feel has ill intentions.
I hear you, but I don't have to listen and take that and put it into, work. So you can hear them out. They're parents, right? If they're talking to you, you're going to hear them out. But it's the difference between hearing and listening, right? And then taking listening to and putting into practice. So, yeah, if you really don't think, and listen, in life, we all have to make our own mistakes. So if they were trying to help you out, and you guys had ill intentions, well, honey, you make that call. You're all going to make mistakes, so it's okay.
Yeah, some people, they don't have, like I said earlier, this interested heart. They're out there to destroy what it is that's going on for you. And that's your family too, but they're coming for you. Because guess what? Maybe they don't even have anything going on. They can't afford to see you succeed and be happy with the person. Or maybe they just got something against this person that you don't even know about. You don't even see them. But to them, they're just like, man, I just don't like this girl. Or I don't like this. For some others, but they're going to come to you. They're going to tell you all these things, man. Sometimes they will go to the extent of planting false evidence to just
that's witchcraft.
He said that's witchcraft.
Now that's witchcraft.
Like, they will set you up for failure, like literally and figuratively. They'll set you up to a point where you're like, man, I don't even know if you're really my family. What you're doing, don't align with what family stands for. But there are some people who tell you some good stuff. Maybe they're
Yes.
overstepping their boundaries, but it's really good information. It's coming from the heart. They really care for you. They don't want you going making mistakes, like you said. But at the same time, by overstepping that boundary, that makes your partner uncomfortable. Because, let's say, for example, I don't know, I live with my mother-in-law, right? And then, every time I come home, she can show us that she gotta say about what I'm doing.
Big mistake.
Big mistake right there. Big mistake right
Don't
there.
even live with her.
She gonna have to get home place. I don't mind paying for a bedroom down the street. I mean, but she's watching you doing all these things. But imagine this is my house, right? But she gonna have a little true sense to go tell her daughter, this guy, the way he moves or the way he dresses or whatever, the way like all these little things. Now I'm not even comfortable with my own home. So
Right.
there's things that's a boundary too, like you said. Never do that. That's a boundary right there. That's a thick line. It's about this big. Don't do that because things start to go south, right? Respect get lost and stuff like that. But I got a question for you guys.
Now, hold on. Before the question comes, let me just respond to this question that you asked over the boundaries. Why people do that? Why people overstep? It's really one thing only. People want control, People step in to have some sort of hand in it. Control. I want to be the one who did this and this and this and that. I want to be the one who guided you. I want to be the one who made it happen for you. And you have to understand, principles never overstep. It's always opinions that overstep, right? Principles are always in line.
Preach somebody.
They don't bend, they don't fold. They're always in line. It's people's opinions about you guys' marriage that overstep. If you check you can tell, right? If I come and say, bro, I think you guys should have a baby right now. Is that a principle? That's my opinion. That's my opinion. So I'm overstepping. You know what I'm saying? But principles, they never overstep. So once everybody who is in these marriages or relationships understand the principles and people differentiate them from people's opinions, it's easy for you to tell, okay, this is now crossing the lines, or this is now a principle. If your parent comes and tell you principles, that's not overstepping. That's telling you the right thing. Because sometimes we are at the wrong side of the line. So someone can come and tell you the principles, they're not overstepping. They're telling you the right thing. So you have to differentiate those two scenarios.
Some good stuff right there, too.
Yeah.
So,
It's the bird.
what do you guys think of some of the common negative influences? Where can we get some of these negative influences from? For example, like parents who are too involved, right? That's a negative influence. Whether it can be directly to you as their son or daughter, or to the son-in-law or daughter-in-law, or like maybe when you interfere with your relationship, that's all a negative influence. So what are some of the examples that you guys what was that right there?
So you said, what are some negative influences?
Right.
Yeah, like what can those influences come from?
So he mentioned parents.
I'll go first this time.
He mentioned parents involved. He mentioned siblings as well. So what other ones did you guys think of before I jump in?
So I think the negative influence is fear, man. Like she already mentioned earlier. People, for example, I'll give you an example of a mama's boy. Now, like I say, the mother is afraid to death that some random woman from wherever she come from is not going to be in charge. It's not going to be your equal partner, equal half. That fear, man, drives people nuts, drives people crazy. So fear and jealousy sometimes, and pretty much ill will. That's what it is. Like wrong interest. That's what makes people get to be involved and do bad things in people's marriages and relationships, right? Because if I had said, dear, that I want a sister-in-law who is like this, who is 7 feet tall, and you put up with a 5 feet tall one, I'm gonna have something to say about it, But that's wrong. You know what I mean?
But I think because your question is, you're saying outside of parents and siblings, are there any other influences, right? I think my answer to that would be, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be your friend, a sister, a mother, a father. I think the issue here is a lack of a stable character or a good character, you know, and that's what it is for a mama's boy. You know, I know there are a lot of moms who love their sons. There's nothing wrong with loving your son. There's nothing called loving someone too much. But when somebody oversteps, they use that relationship to overstep decisions that he's made in his life, that speaks to the character or the corrupt character of the mother. So the issue we have as individuals is a character issue. You know, if you are envious, if you are jealous, generally people who are envious and jealous have an issue of wishing or being happy when they see people suffer. So when you become a mother who has that character trait, when your son is moving on and finding, you know, the priority shifts to a family, you're naturally, because of those tendencies in you and that character trait of being envious and jealous, you're going to want the family unit to suffer. So you want the control over that so they can always be under you some way, somehow, under, you know, your other kids or aunties or uncles or whatever it is. So the issue with negative influences is a lack of a good character. And that goes back to, you know, the Bible says, honor your father and your mother, so your days can be extended, so you live long. When people overstep those boundaries, you now have to dishonor your parents because they are not in the Lord. So the condition upon honoring your parents is them having a good character that's a reflection of God. Anything outside of those principles, now, I do not need to heed to your counsel.
Okay, preach somebody.
Okay.
Come the dagger.
What do you think, babe?
Well, I think another one that I was going to add on there is like friends who hang around too much. There are certain people who don't know when changes happen. When people get in a relationship, right, in the beginning, that's cool. We're hanging out with friends and family, right? But then there's a time where a relationship gets serious and you still have these single friends. There has to be some differences that are made. You know what I mean? Those single friends now
Your boys.
Those single friends now don't know how to respect the fact that you're in a committed, serious relationship, that you plan on marrying this person.
Hallelujah.
Praise the God. Thank God.
Hallelujah.
And then now they don't know how to respect what you have going on. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have these friends who hang around too much, coming to the house on the weekends all the time, and you're trying to have quality time and build. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't work. So that's one of them. And then also, I think another one is when you have ex-girlfriends and ex-boyfriends who are now sisters, brothers. Okay,
Somebody.
Kobe.
Fade away. Then the fade away, boy. Ooh.
saying, you know, so your ex-girlfriend, they're an ex-girlfriend for a reason. It didn't work out, you know, but because y'all run around the same circle of friends, they're still around in the area. And then they're going to be giving you all this negative advice about the relationship that you're in. So we need to be able to differentiate. And personally, sometimes I think when you're in a committed relationship, it is so much easier for you to just, I mean, we gotta have to decipher the friends, okay?
Oh boy.
You guys are killing it, man. Y'all killing it all points, man. Y'all brought all the guns out. I got
man.
But I mean, just to kind of add on to what Melissa and Musa was talking about the principles, I have a good reference that comes from the Bible about the principles. I did my homework, by the way.
Okay.
If you have a chance to go to Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, it talks about the principles about marriage. It says marriage should be honored by all. It doesn't matter who it is. So by that, I can also add on to say in relationship, it should be honored by everybody.
But you say Hebrews 13 what?
Hebrews 13, verse 4, sir. You're trying to check my reference. Okay, I see how you're trying to do. But you need to stick to these principles, right? Of marriage should be honored by all and develop a healthy boundaries. Once you got those healthy boundaries, that's what will help you with your family. Hey, if you guys can pay attention, that was so nice.
And you reading the Hebrews verse.
You got it?
Up the scripture.
Ah, my bad, man, my bad.
Go ahead, man.
But anyway, if you honor those guys, I mean, if you honor those principles, right, that'll help you develop those healthy boundaries. And that can also help with the family members and the friends just to balance everything out, right?
Yeah.
So just to kind of conclude, that was really a good discussion, guys. I think,
Oh, it can just end like that, man.
I mean, with the sake of time, we can just, maybe say your points real quick.
Yeah, let me just jump in. Laura really hit the nail, right? The head right there. With the friends, man. You know what I'm saying? Now, bro,
Gotta be mindful.
honestly speaking, though, I've had those situations where friends who are not in my situation, they're not like considerate of my situation, They want you guys to go do whatever you guys are doing when you were single entities. And now they're going to join forces. They don't have that, like, they're not cognizant of that fact anymore. So then the question to hear is like, because principle and opinion again, like how then do you go ahead and address that in a way that's very decisive and very fair, that overly overstep all the time, right? For example, people who are in a serious relationship or marriage, those friends, they have no regard to that union. They just hit you up, look, yo, let's go to the strip club or something. But they know deep down, like, that's not about the life anymore. But they'll still try, though. Now, my question was, how then do you decisively and in a fair way put that to an end, put that to bed? Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you have to be brutally honest, right? And then
Honest, yeah.
And sometimes we have to keep in mind that certain people are around for, especially friends. Your family, you don't get to pick your family. It is what it is, right? But your friends, some people are there for a lifetime and some people are there for a season. So you have to decide for, like, okay, that while we were single and this is what we were doing while I was single, you know what I mean? And we're not moving on the same wavelength. Now that I'm in a relationship, why are you still keeping them? Is there something else that you guys have in common? Do you guys actually talk about maybe investing and stuff like that? So some people you're gonna have to come off like, okay, your season is over with, and I'm gonna have to cut you off. So in the nicest way, I think the best way I would tell them is just like, listen, I'm definitely on a different path now. That whole going to the club, going and turning up and getting drunk and stuff like that, that's not what I'm into anymore. I've moved on into some other things in life. And hey, I'm not saying that you're beneath me. I can deal with you because I'm up here, you down here. It has nothing to do with that. It's just our interests in life is different. I have grown to like different things. This is the path I'm trying to take with my partner, and I just hope that you respect that. Period.
How about family? How about his family?
You can cut them suckers off too, man. Sure.
I wasn't going to say that.
You can cut them suckers off.
I wasn't going to say that.
I must say, don't be afraid, man. It's okay to put family on the sideline for a little while. A family member, it's okay. But don't feel ashamed for doing that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Because the same applies when the friends are interfering in what you got trying to go on. Family can do the same shit. Just because they're family, that doesn't mean that you can't put them on the sidelines. Put them on the sidelines and make sure that they know that they're on the sidelines. Because, sometimes you have to guide or guard against toxic people. It doesn't matter who the toxic person is, whether it's family or friend.
Hallelujah.
If they're toxic, put them suckers on the sideline because some relationships need, a limit. This is how much people can, be in it. Once you start to be up here, man, you gotta go, man. You just gotta go. I can't afford, you feel me? Because, that will include people like who are chronically intrusive and judgmental. Like, that relative that's just judgmental. We all can think of a relative, someone somehow, you don't know who's judgmental. It doesn't matter what the person did to them, they're just gonna judge regardless. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of people, man, you just don't, you don't want them to be too invested into what you got going on because they won't slow you down. Just like how they say, if you tell a small-minded person your dream, it ain't never gonna happen because they're gonna crush that shit, right? So that's the same thing. Once you start letting people that got no business trying to be part of what you got going on, they're gonna slow you down. You're never gonna get to where you need to get to, you know?
See, I don't think it's necessary to tell a family member, mom, dad, that, you know, you're distancing yourself from them or that they don't have a say. But I think naturally when you fight for what is right and everything's based on principle, light and dark naturally don't mix. So when you fight for what is right and say what you need to say in the guidelines of what is right according to what God has to say, these people will naturally distance themselves because they'll realize they don't fit. So it's not necessary to tell someone, I don't want you in my life because you're like this. But it's necessary to say when you're wrong for doing this. And if they have nothing to say, then they know they're wrong. And generally, they won't have anything to say. Like, I'm pointing out the fact that you are in error here, and they won't say anything. But if they know they're right, they will fight for what is right. But they generally won't. So you don't have to say, you know, sharp words to hurt someone, to make it known you don't want them in your space. But by what you do, they will either be invited or the door will be closed.
But you still have to tell that toxic person, right?
Tell them where they're wrong, but you don't need to tell them that I'm cutting you off. Because it's not necessary to do that. Is what I'm saying. You know, the conversation could just be, let me pinpoint where you're wrong and let's have that conversation. If you're not willing to, then we'll never have a conversation then, because you're not willing to address the issue at hand.
What if you're dealing with the ignorant person?
Actually, I do agree with my mother was saying. Like, your principles should speak for you. You just keep doing what you're doing. You know, your actions, your principles, your values, they should speak for you at the end of the day. You know, like you said, like, you don't have to hit people's feelings about your great life that you're about to live now with your wife and what, you know. Your ex, don't just watch you like, oh, this guy, man, you can't even invite him to the barbecue no more. Just like they can't do that no more. Common sense will tell, man. You know.
No, I agree with you guys. You have to choose your words wisely, right? You can't just go out there and just tell somebody, hey, look, you're a piece of shit. I don't want to mess with you. You can't do that. But obviously, there is a way to tell somebody, like, look, man, the path of life where I'm at now and what you're trying to guide me towards don't align, right? Even with family, like I said, you still can tell them in the nicest way and put them on the sideline. But you put them on the sideline, that's them distancing themselves too, because you're not gonna keep going back to them, trying to jump back in the wagon yourself. You just, maybe you put yourself on the sideline there.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is you got to pick and choose your battles. You know, not everything that somebody says or does in life needs a reaction. Right. Sometimes silence is golden. So you got to pick and choose. You don't know. See, you can only control what you do. You can't control the other person. There are people when they do things and say things so they get a reaction out of you. When you give them that, it only opens a can of worms for them to go deeper. People are evil. People are wicked. Yeah. You know, sometimes you don't even know your own mother or your own father. They can go to great lengths to do things to destroy you just to get to you. So you don't need to give some people room to do that. You just cut it off there.
But they know
by your life, by not what you say.
If I hit this button, I know what direction I'm gonna get out of him.
Exactly.
Once I get that direction, I'm gonna hit this one. Before I know it, I got what direction that I need.
You don't need to prove yourself to anyone sometimes. It's better to just do you and make the moves you're making because you know why you're doing it. You have nothing to prove to them. You don't have to fight for yourself. You open up a bunch of more battles when you start fighting for yourself. Let your life fight for you.
Absolutely.
That's true. Because, you know, whatever intentions people have, at the end of the day, they're going to come out one way or another. You know?
Exactly.
So,
and everybody will see it. Nothing is a secret for too long, you know. Everyone will see who's right and who's wrong eventually.
Yeah, because, you know, in Africa, they have this saying in Zimbabwe, like, if a goat,
that's right.
No matter what you try to do, it's going to hide it. Either way, if somebody has bad intentions, they're going to come out one way or another. So just be prepared. Sometimes it might come out of people that you didn't expect.
You know what? I got one thing to ask again, you know, because this whole family movement, I feel like sometimes family is good for them to be involved, but not crossing the lines though. Most young people, they need their people's endorsement for them to move forward, right? What advice can you give about young people not to seek validation from anyone about anything? Be wise enough to understand advice, counsel, but not validation.
First, you have to be concrete yourself with the decision you're trying to make. The validation will come. That's just a cherry on top. But if you're not even sure about the decision yourself, how are these people going to be sure that you're making the right decision? You know, it's like you're doing a math equation. You have to prove it. You have to show your work, right? You have to. If I'm talking about, let's say I'm trying to get married to male, I have to show my people that no, this is the right person for me. You know, they might say some shit along the line to see where you at, you know, to kind of knock you off your feet. But you have to stand firm and like, no, guys, this is the person. This is how this person is, and this is who I am, and I think good together. At some point, like Memo said, they're gonna be forced by the situation to just fall in line and be supportive. But at first, not everybody's gonna be supportive, and expect that, and it's okay. But at the end of the day, everybody gonna fall into place. You're just fine. So don't be afraid to express yourself and stand for what you believe in and what you know is right, no matter what somebody else tells you.
But on the flip side too, I think there's a caution that, there's this like error that young people believe that when they make a decision, nobody has a right to interfere or say anything. Especially when it comes to love, there are things you don't see that others can see, and it's by experience. This is a decision that you're making that you've never walked a mile, and you've never done before. So you don't know what's coming. You don't know where you're going. You don't know those little telltale signs that can go into something. These people have been through it. So it's in the manner of which they are approaching you that's important. But even then, when they come at you wrong, try to listen and try to see what it is you can take from it and learn from it. Because there's some young people who've made decisions fighting for what they want when everybody told them that it was wrong. They're in it and they're like, oh, wow, I made the biggest mistake in my life. You're tying two destinies here. This ain't like going to university down the street and then backing out in first semester. This is like your life. This is life or death. You know what I'm saying? You can have children with these people. So it's the most major decision after you're born that you have to make. Forget your career, forget everything else. So try to listen to what people are saying, even through the rubble, even through the bad comments. What is it that they're addressing? Like you said, you have to be solid in yourself. When you know principle and you're grounded in principle, that's maturity. You're not ready for that step if you're not grounded in principle, because you'll never know what to take that's right and what not to take. And that will show your inability or your lack of growth, right? So you have to be solid.
Again, I'm a reference to my African culture. So for you to know what's ahead, you have to ask somebody who have walked that path, right? So you won't know, because that's why also they say advice is for free. The charge is at you to take it or leave it. Anybody can give you advice. That's your responsibility to listen or to be ignorant, right? But people want to tell you what they think you need to learn and need to know based on what it is that you're trying to do. Even choosing a career, somebody can come and advise you, dude, I saw what you're good at math, but you're not really good at this, but what you're trying to do also consists of this. Why don't you try to do it this way? Because you also maybe have something strong over here. And then you're going to be like, nah, man, I know what I want to do, man. I'm trying to be an astronaut. And then you don't even know how to do algebra. So it's like, okay, great. Now you go down there, let's try to live there with $30,000 of debt because it failed and nothing else, they got kicked out. So it's important to listen, but it's also important to dissect, know what to take between that conversation and what to leave. You take what you need and you leave the rest for somebody else. It's like a buffet,
Yeah.
Take what you want, you leave the rest for everybody else.
Also, I think for your older audience, they may feel like they're being attacked in this conversation. Like, oh, you guys don't say nothing. These people got it. But that's not the objective, you know?
Mm.
Advice is good. Give advice. Ways indicated. Give advice where it's needed, you know? Give advice. But then, like Memo said, like, you know, the condition has to meet the principles, right? If I'm giving advice based off of many African parents, especially, they want to live their dreams through you, through somebody else. But they fail to do it, they want you to do it. You understand? So sometimes that's not advice. That's them being selfish, you know what I'm saying? So, but if someone comes to you with good advice, that's like not violating any principle. Yes, advice, that's good. We're not saying they should not give advice. They should give advice. And us, we're supposed to take advice as well. Taking advice doesn't mean that someone else is running your life. That means you're taking the good, whatever the good they're telling you, and incorporate into your life. That's all.
Yeah, this is definitely not to attack any older people. You know, this is just to build each other up, older and younger generation, so we know to do things right for the upcoming generation, and, you know, just from this point going forward, right? Because you don't want to be also ignorant, like, I want to just think they know everything. No, they're trying to voice our opinions and what we've seen too, and, you know, educate each other. That's what it's about.
For sure.
You guys have any closing remarks?
Closing remarks. I'll say, I guess since you addressed the older or whatever, what is it? Older people watching. I think the issue here isn't like, or I'll give you an example. See, if I have a spouse or if I have a boyfriend, you're dating and you're telling me that, okay, maybe he's not respectful. You're calling to question principle, like he's not respectful or his values are not in alignment with the word. I can agree with you. But when it's things like, oh, he didn't say hi in this particular manner, you're just looking for smoke where there is no fire, you know? You're going out of your way to look for little things that really don't matter, but you already had told me this person was good. So this is a good person, then why do all of this, trying to, look for things where there isn't really anything? Then I'm calling to question your intent. Maybe then you're not really happy for me. Maybe you don't want the best for me. So that's what I'm questioning. Yes, we can agree with the principles. If this person is coming up with like booty shorts and twerking in front of my father, then yes, we have a problem, But if he said hi and he was supposed to say, hi, how are you? Then we don't have a problem. You are just the problem. So that's what we're saying here is I'm calling you to question your intent as my parent, as my family member. Are you really happy for me, or are there other things in your mind that are causing you to not want this for me? And so if it's about opinion, then we don't agree.
Absolutely. That was a good closing remark.
Absolutely.
Just to kind of add, that's off topic, just what you said about, somebody saying hi or something. If they didn't say hi, communication is a two-way street. You can also say hi.
Yeah, that would be a good conversation for culture. That'll be our next video. We're going to have to talk about culture because culturally,
yes.
The adults expect the young person to say something. But
yes.
Time. I would like to thank all our guests today, man. Mel, all the way from Canada again. Ruma Quaterings, all the way from Philly, 76.
Slovenia, bro.
Hey, man, look here. Again, you guys are familiar with Ruma Quay. He's been our guest before, but Mel is the first time being on the Empire.
Hopefully not the last.
Right.
Okay.
But without any further ado, again, like as we all say, if you also have a topic that you want to chit chat about or you want to be part of our guest, just holler at us and we'll put it together. We'll make it happen. Again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe down there. Down there, right?
Hit the like button.
Down there, yeah. So that when the next video pops up, you just get a notification and you guys go out there and search for it. That's really why you subscribe, right? But thank you so much, guys. Take it easy.